The way to learn. When the Pandavas and the Kauravas were young boys, they were all sent to an ashram to study. Besides them, there were several other princes too, who had also been sent to be educated there. There was keen competition among them all to be the best in studies and win the teacher's praise. They were making good progress in their studies, and the teacher was happy with his pupils. One day the teacher had to go out on some work. He expected to be away for several days. So he called all his students and gave them a few lessons to be studied during his absence. The teacher left and the students were left to their individual pursuits for the time being. A fortnight later, the teacher returned. When the class met, the teacher asked how they had spent their time during his absence and what they had studied. Each prince came forward and explained how diligently and sincerely he had studied. One had learned 3 lessons, another 4, and yet another 5. The teacher beamed at them as one by one the pupils stood up and gave an account of themselves. At last it was Dharmaraja's turn. The teacher looked at him expectantly, as he was the most industrious of all his pupils. Dharmaraja said in a low voice, "I have studied only one sentence, sir." The teacher was stunned. He could hardly believe his ears. "Just one sentence?" he asked. "Yes, sir. I could study only one sentence in such a short time," Dharmaraja repeated. What had come over Dharmaraja? The teacher could not understand why he required a full fortnight to learn one sentence. Dharmaraja was older than all his other pupils. He ought to have been more diligent in his studies and set an example to the others. But here was the boy shamelessly declaring that a fortnight was not sufficient to study more than a single sentence. If he tolerated such insolence from the oldest boy, the others might follow his example and be lazy in future. The teacher looked around the class to see how the other students were taking it. They were looking on with the derisive smiles on their lips, eager to see how the teacher would react, because they knew that Dharmaraja was his favorite pupil. Would the teacher punish Dharmaraja, or would he overlook his favorite disciple's laziness? The teacher understood what they were thinking. He did not want to give the impression that he was partial to any boy. He looked sternly at Dharmaraja and said, "Aren't you ashamed of yourself? The others who are so much younger than you have studied much more than you have." The Dharmaraja's face remained serene and tranquil. "No, sir, I couldn't help it. This is all I could finish." The teacher lost his temper. "What a big fool you are," he shouted. "You are not only lazy but brazen too. Are you not ashamed?" Still Dharmaraja remained calm and tranquil. "I'm sorry to disappoint you, sir. This is all I could study." All the pupils burst into laughter. The teacher could not control himself. He felt that he must put a stop to Dharmaraja's stubbornness and set an example for the others. In a rush of anger, he gave Dharmaraja a hard slap with his outstretched hand. Dharmaraja's delicate cheek grew crimson under the hard blow. Still he remained calm and cool, and said in a low voice, "I'm sorry to disappoint you, sir. I could study only this much." Again, this shameless assertion. The teacher raised his hand once more and gave him another blow. Dharmaraja still retained his composure. The teacher gave him yet another slap, but Dharmaraja remained calm and quiet, not trying to shield himself, not protesting or even justifying himself. The class looked on in amazement, and the teacher also stopped, wondering at Dharmaraja's calmness. It dawned on him that Dharmaraja had achieved something extraordinary here. He looked searchingly into the calm, unperturbed eyes of the boy and asked, "My son, what was the sentence that you have learnt?" Dharmaraja brought out his book and showed him the sentence. The teacher read it. "Don't ever be angry." The teacher repeated the sentence aloud. "Don't ever be angry." In a flash, the teacher and all the pupils understood what Dharmaraja had achieved. His study was not the lip study of the others, but it was a practical application of what he had read. The teacher's eyes filled with tears when he realized how sincerely Dharmaraja had applied himself to his lesson. He embraced the boy and said in a choked voice, "My son, please pardon me for having done you an injustice. Today you have taught me how lessons should be studied. If everyone was like you, the world would have been a heaven on earth."